Good evening, and welcome to the 5:30 all levels yoga class here at the Hatha Yoga Center in Seattle, Washington. Today is March 12th, and it's a beautiful evening here in Seattle, feeling a bit like spring. I took my dog to the dog park today, and it was so warm that she was panting the whole way home, and I was happy to hear that panting sound because it means warm weather. So if you're joining in and you'd like to drop a comment letting me know what you'd like to work on, you can put it right in the comments, and I will just go ahead and get started. Starting here in my seat. I'm sitting up on a bolster here. You might want to sit up on a pillow or a cushion or a bolster yourself, or maybe a yoga block if you have one. We'll get moving, but let's start with a little bit of breathing and just dropping into our embodiedness. So feel your seat heavy against the floor. Hi, Lori. And just allow yourself to ground here and to feel the breath coming in and out through your nose. You could close your eyes if you like, or just find a soft gaze in front of you and feel the curves of your spine, the natural curves of your spine. You could move a little bit. Let your jaw relax. You might even stretch open your mouth and just release a little bit of tension, letting the shoulder blades slide away from your ears, down the back of the rib cage. And just take some conscious breaths here, balanced breaths. Bringing yourself present into your practice, into your body, into your breath. Really having a sensory experience of the breath. So it helps sometimes to close the eyes to eliminate the visual distraction and just really feel and sense the breath as it comes in and out of your body. Really meeting yourself where you are tonight, rather than maybe where you wish you were, or where you want to be, or what you think you need to do, or any of those kinds of things. Instead, just really meeting yourself right where you are. So taking a moment to check in with yourself to notice how you're feeling now that you've taken some conscious breaths. Maybe letting go of your story even, and just being really present with the breath and the movements of your practice. And I'm just going to check and see what's going on. We've got Janice here, and really good to see you too. Oh, hi, Shivanti and Sasha. Let me know if you guys have anything. Any of you have anything you'd like to work on? And Lori, do you have anything specific tonight? She's just smiling. She's happy to be on her mat. So let's just start to make some circles. We'll just move a little bit here. Just circling around in one direction. Maybe starting to feel your belly moving a bit as you're circling. And of course you can make those circles bigger or smaller, and then switch. You might let your head kind of, neck relax a little bit. And circling back to center. And then bring your left hand down to the floor or to a block and take a big stretch up the side of your body, bringing your right arm up and over the ear, relaxing the left shoulder. You can kind of look up, feeling the sensation of the stretch up the right side of your waistline and your rib cage. Finding your breath here. And then sweeping over to the other side, bringing the right hand down, left arm up and over. And you might just keep your neck in line with the rest of the spine, but you might look up or straight ahead. Just keeping the neck comfortable. And breathing here, feeling the stretch. And then back up to center. And then let's start on hands and knees. And I'll just see if there's anything else. Let me know. I'll come back and check and see if you have any last minute or new requests for practice this evening. We'll just do a well-rounded practice. So coming to hands and knees, making some circles with your hips, maybe letting your head go in the opposite direction. And circling in the other direction. I'm hearing some popping and cracking in my knees. I don't know if you can hear that all the way in your living room or wherever you are. Lori can hear it. And come back to center. Find your tabletop position. Exhale, round your spine. Lift the belly, inhale. Tip your pelvis and let the movement ripple up your spine. Moving through cat and cow. Moving with the breath in the habitual way that we do. Exhaling as you round. And inhaling as you drop your belly and arch your back. Letting the movement be fluid. And then come back to center to your tabletop and let's switch the breathing. So this time inhale as you round. Exhale as you let your belly drop. So moving the opposite way. Inhale, round the spine. Exhale, drop the belly. It might feel kind of hard to switch to that way of breathing, but just noticing. We get into lots of habits, and it's good to shake them up, even if it's a little annoying. And then come back to center, walk your hands forward, bring your forehead down, stretch your arms, find your prayer. You can also put your head on a block if you need support for your head and neck. And just take a few breaths here, lengthening your spine, lifting your tail. Nice, comfortable breathing in and out through the nose. Walking hands over to the left and drawing the right hip back. Again, feeling a stretch up the side of your body. And then hands back through center and over to the right, drawing the left hip back and breathing. And then come back to center and slide forward into Sphinx pose. And take a few breaths there. Lifting your belly, taking a little bit of the compression out of your lower back. Tip the tailbone down, so a little stretch in the front of the hips and the belly. Opening the chest. You could turn the head in one direction and the other. And then go ahead and release and flip over onto your back. We're just going to do a little bit of core work and then we'll do some standing poses. So keeping your left foot on the floor, lift the right leg up, relax your upper body, find your neutral spine, so keeping a little space under the neck and the lower back. And you could point your toe, just first do a few little circles with the ankle, with the foot in one direction and the other. And then pointing your toes, start to make small circles with your leg. So going slowly, circling around in one direction. So moving very consciously, using not so much momentum, but using your muscular effort to make that circle. So go really slowly. Feel how your belly is engaged, your lower back working together to support you. Make the circles bigger. So taking them into medium-sized circles, going very slowly. Try not to use the momentum as you come around the corner. Instead, go very slowly. You could even imagine that your leg is really heavy. Don't forget your breathing. And then switch the direction of the circles, going medium-sized circles in the opposite direction. Try to relax your shoulders and focus on your breath. Keeping the sacrum, pinned to the floor. And then bring the circles in so they're smaller. Feeling like that leg is heavy, going slowly. And then stop the circling and take yourself into a half happy baby pose. You could extend your left leg. If you can't reach your foot comfortably, just reach behind your thigh and hold that for some breaths. So bringing the knee towards the floor, the sole of your foot is pointing towards the ceiling. And breathing kind of completely, so in and out through the nose. You might be using Ujjayi breathing, gently constricting the back of the throat, making a little friction so you can hear your breath. Another breath or two here. So noticing if it's getting uncomfortable. Staying with discomfort, but not pushing into pain or harm in our bodies. So go ahead and release that leg and bring the sole of your right foot to the floor. Find your neutral spine and lift your left leg up. Point your toes, circle the foot first in one direction and the other. Just moving your ankle joint and your toes. And then begin to point your toe and begin to make those small circles on this side. So going really slowly, like you're moving through the water or something. There's friction as you move your leg. You can't move it quickly. You're not using momentum, you're using your own muscles. Of course, there is a little momentum, but reduce that a bit. Keep circling. Let your leg feel really heavy. Imagine it to be heavy. Make the circles bigger, so make a medium-sized circle. Keeping sacrum pinned to the floor, keeping the awareness of your neutral spine. Your upper body is relaxed. Keep going. And then switch the direction of the medium-sized circles slowly. And then bring the circles in tighter, so they're small, tiny little circles, like you're tracing your toe in a circle shape on the ceiling. Relax the jaw. A couple more times around, slowly. And then bring that left leg into happy baby pose. So maybe reaching for the foot or behind the thigh, extend your right leg. Feeling perhaps a little stretch across the front of the right hip, letting gravity assist you as the knee drops towards the floor. So feeling a big fold in the front of the hip. If it feels pinchy or uncomfortable, just release it and bring your hands to the back of your thigh. We're not trying to push into any kind of pain that isn't helpful. But if it's just discomfort, just notice it, breathe through. And release that foot. Then draw your knees in towards your chest for a moment. And then maybe with the arms out to the sides, you could start circling your knees in one direction and the other. And then we'll extend the legs up. You could point your toes and find your neutral spine here. So bring your legs into like a 90 degrees. And then move your feet over toward, keep sacrum on the floor, move your feet over towards the left and pause. And breathe there. Then move the feet back to center and away from you and pause there. Keep your belly drawn down, so try not to let your belly pop up. Bring feet over to the right. Keep sacrum on the floor. Then bring the feet back into center and towards you. And your back will flatten out a bit there. Hold it, breathe. Legs to the left, feet to the left. Sacrum stays on the floor, breathing. Feet up to center and away from you. Don't let your belly pop up. Bring the feet back to the right. Breathe. And back to center and in towards you. And we'll just do that one more time. Breathing, bring legs to the left, hold it. Sacrum stays on the floor. Legs away from you. And over towards the right. And back to center and in towards you. And you might feel like your belly's really warm now. Bend your knees and rock a little bit from side to side. And then staying on your back for a little bit more core work. Bringing the legs up. Let's do one leg at a time. So turn the toes slightly out. This time flex your feet. Inhale your right heel down. And back up. Exhale, back up. Then left. Down and back up. Bring it almost to the floor. And then kind of go faster. So move more quickly. One leg at a time towards the floor. Keeping the belly drawn down and lengthened. Couple more times on each side. And then draw the knees in and release a little bit. And then arms out to the sides, legs up. Again, flex your feet. And you just keep the inner edges of the feet together and go side to side. Keep sacrum on the floor. Moving slowly without momentum so much, using your muscular effort to bring you back and forth. You should be feeling pretty warm in your belly. Keep going a couple more times. Relax your shoulders and your jaw. And then knees in and rock a little bit again. And then roll over onto your left side and come back up. And let's just come right up to downward facing dog. So find your downward facing dog. Maybe moving the hips, pedaling into one foot and the other. Finding your breath. Maybe pausing on one side, stretching the calf a bit, and then the other. And back to center. And take a breath here in your downward dog. And then let's take some big steps to the front of the mat to come into a forward bend. You could have your knees bent, just finding your forward bend, finding your long spine, and your breath, and then sweeping the arms out and up, coming all the way up, reach up, lengthening up, feeling for neutral here, and then hands come together at the heart in Anjali Mudra, pressing your palms together. And just take a pause here. And then we're going to start to flow a little bit. So sweep the arms out and up. Lengthen up. Feeling your belly stretching a little, which might feel good after doing some core work. Exhale, come forward. Bow forward, then come back up halfway. Inhale up. Bow forward again. And let's step back to downward dog again. Let's step the right foot forward towards the front of the mat. Bring the left knee down. So coming into a low lunge with your knee down. Hips come down. Head and shoulders lift. Breathing, finding your gaze. And then you might take a twist, so left hand on the floor, a block, opening up the right arm. And looking up, perhaps you could bend your elbow and kind of draw the shoulder blade back and then reach the arm forward and do that a couple times. Bend the elbow, reach the arm forward. One more time. It's like a cactus shape with the arm, and reach it forward. And then if you'd like, you could reach back for your foot, for your left foot, drawing the heel in towards the buttock, for a little quad stretch. If you don't have the foot, that's fine. You can also just maybe reach for the thigh, so you're taking a little twist, or even pushing into your knee to help with the twist. Just another breath there. Release the foot. Turn back to face forward, and then tuck your back toes and lift the hips. And come in and out of your straight legs a couple times to the bended knee, lifting the hips. And then the next time you lift the hips, step the back foot in a little so you're in a pyramid shape with your legs. So there's hip width between your feet. Your left toes are slightly turned out. So you might be on blocks or on your fingertips or maybe up on your shin, but staying with your long neutral spine, drawing the right hip back, feeling there's some lift in the belly. And just another breath there. And then we'll open into a twist here. So open your right arm up to the ceiling, maybe lifting the gaze. You might feel like your inner thighs are kind of drawing together a little bit, so there's a sense of the core, the center of your body lifting and engaging. And then bring the right arm back down. And let's step back to downward dog. So find your downward dog. Just evening yourself out a little bit. And then exhale forward into plank, keeping the head lifted. So finding plank pose for a couple of breaths, lifting the belly. And then you could come either down into Sphinx pose, coming all the way onto the belly, or elbows bend halfway down at most, and up into Cobra, or Upward Dog. Upward Dog, we just lift the thighs. Taking a breath in either Sphinx, or Cobra, or Upward Dog. And then bend your knees, come back to Downward Facing Dog. Lift your hips. Find the breath here. Take a couple breaths. And then from there, we'll step the left foot forward and bring the right knee down. So coming into the low lunge, keeping head and shoulders lifted as your hips drop. Maybe hands on blocks or on the floor. Take a couple breaths there. And then from there, keeping right hand down, we'll open up into the twist. And you could bring that elbow back and then reach the arm forward. Sometimes it's nice to make a fist as you bring it back and then open the palm as you come forward. Just doing that a couple of times. And then perhaps reaching back for the right foot and drawing heel in towards buttock. Or you could, again, you could just put your hand on your inner thigh and take a little twist. Feeling a quad stretch if you've got your foot a little up into the psoas perhaps. A little opening of your chest on the left side. Release the foot and then come back to center, and then we'll lift the hips and come up and coming in and out of the lunge to straight legs a couple of times, just moving slowly. It's okay to keep the heel lifted. The next time you come up to the straight legs, step your back foot in a little and find pyramid pose. So straight legs, long spine, neutral spine. Drawing left hip back, lengthening through both sides of the torso. So feeling it in the legs. As Bob would say, greeting your hamstrings. Hi, hamstrings. I don't want to hurt you, but I would like you to soften a little and yield a little. That's me greeting you. Yours might be different. You might have something else to say. And then we'll open up into the twist here. So maybe your right hand is on the floor or perhaps on a block. Maybe even on the shin. Lengthening through both sides of your torso, belly's lifting, chest is opening. And then releasing your left arm. And let's step back again to downward facing dog. And we'll come forward into plank, and we'll hold plank for a few breaths. Maybe you could walk your feet together, the inner edges of your feet and your legs together, so you have like one big leg. You can really feel strength up the center of your body. Lift your belly away from the floor, keep the head lifted, breathing, strengthening. And then knees could come down onto your belly, and just make a little shelf, rock your hips from side to side. I'm just going to peek and see if anybody did request anything. No, okay. It's a warm evening. So from here, let's bend the left knee and lift your heel up towards the ceiling. Keep the right thigh relaxed. And then pulse the heel up towards the ceiling. So feeling your butt and those big muscles, strong muscles there, helping to move the heel up and down. And release that side, rock your hips a bit, bend your right knee, and lift the thigh, pressing the heel up and down. And releasing that side. Now reach your arms back, clasp your hands at your sacrum, lift up, maybe lift the arms up off your back, and then bend the knees and lift the thighs up off the floor. And you could straighten your legs and bend your knees and straighten and bend. And release. Rocking the hips. Let's take the left arm out to the side. Bring your hand a little below the shoulder. And we'll roll onto the left side. So kind of walking your hand away from you as you come onto your side. The right foot could come back and just tap the floor. Maybe your head is on a block or a pillow or whatever you need to do to keep your neck aligned here. So for me it's just strengthening, holding my head up. And that really has to do with your bodily proportions. And then roll back onto your belly. And extend the right arm, walking your hand away, bringing your left foot up and over, and just to the floor if you can, whatever works there. If it hurts your low back in any way, just back off. You can just keep your legs straight. And breathing. And then we'll roll back onto the belly. This time bring the arms forward and bend your elbows and kind of walk them away, pressing your hands together, maybe fingertips together, palms apart. Kind of dragging your elbows back towards you, so feeling some Stretch in the back of the forearms and broadening in the middle of the back. Breathe into your belly. Feeling the belly expanding against the floor as you inhale. It's kind of relaxing to the nervous system. And release your hands. And then hands underneath shoulders. Let's push back up to hands and knees. So finding tabletop. Let's start by bringing the weight over towards the right. So we're going to come onto the right hand and the right knee. Let's lift the left leg, extend it back, and then open up into this kind of like a, really it's like a variation of side plank. So, except your left leg is extended and your right knee is down. Maybe you can reach for the top of your left foot here. So you're getting a bind, you're maybe feeling a stretch in your quads, and you're balancing. Release the foot, extend the leg, turn towards the floor, bring your left hand down, bring your hips back to square, and bring your knee back down. And then we'll bring weight over towards the left hand and knee. Extend the right leg back and lift the right arm. So you're in this variation of side plank. You can look down at the floor, or it's a little more challenging to look forward or up. You could reach for your foot and bind, or not. And then extend the leg, let go of the bind, bring your hand down and your knee down, and then circle the hips a bit. Coming back to downward facing dog. So find down dog and just really kind of see if you can enjoy it. What do you have to do to make it feel better? Bend the knees a little bit. Press into the hands, lift the hips. Let your head relax and neck relax a little. Maybe move a little. Practice or play with staying still and breathing. And then from there, let's lift the right leg straight up, keeping the hips square, and then stack your hips. And maybe you could bend the knee and then press up through the heel a few times. So bend the knee and then press up, straight up. One more time, bend and straighten. Turn the hips back down and step your right foot forward. This time we're going to come into a warrior one lunge with the back heel lifted. So take a few breaths in your lunge, feeling your strong legs. Let your upper body be light on top of your strong legs, finding a neutral position of your pelvis. Then hands could come together at the heart, and you could take the twist, bringing left elbow to the outside of the right knee, reaching back strongly through your left leg, and opening your upper body into the twist, using the leverage with the elbow on the knee. And slowly release, and step back to down dog. So find your downward dog. Again, hold it for a few breaths. So what do you have to do to make it more comfortable? You can always come into prayer if you need to, or child's pose. Lift your left leg straight up, keep the hips square. And stack your hips, open the hips, bend the knee and straighten it a few times, pressing your heel up towards the ceiling. One more time. And then step the left foot forward, coming into your lunge with the back heel lifted. Some people call it crescent lunge. We call it warrior one here. Or warrior two, I guess. Some people call it warrior two, bob and key. And take a few breaths. And then the hands come together at the heart. And we're going to open into the twist with the right elbow to the left knee. Feel like your right heel is slightly turned in towards center, and you can feel a lift in the back of the right thigh. Breathing steadily. And unwinding. And stepping back to downward facing dog again. And then bring your knees down, bring them a little wider. So come into frog with your feet together. Staying with this long neutral spine. Feeling your inner thighs, stretching. And taking a few more breaths here, staying with it if you can. If it feels like discomfort, if it feels like you're moving into pain, then back off. You could bring your knees closer together. You could avoid the pose altogether. And then to come out, either come forward onto your belly or just come back up. We'll sit back on our heels for a moment and just take an easy twist. Right hand to the left knee. This is hero pose or Virasana with a twist. And twisting in the opposite direction. And back to center. And then let's come up into a forward bend. So straighten your legs. If you like to bring your hands underneath the feet, you could do that. You can bend your knees for that. Bringing the toes up onto the wrists. Maybe straightening legs, maybe knees stay bent. Let your head relax and hang. Just taking a few breaths there. If you don't have the hands under the feet for whatever reason, that's fine. Just come into a regular forward bend with your hands unbound. And then to come up, if it's safe for your back, you could bend your knees and lift the belly in and roll up slowly. Letting your head be the last thing to come up. And then from here, we're going to bring the weight over into the left foot. So really feel the sole of your left foot on the floor, lift your right knee. So really strong in the center. Extend your right leg forward, staying upright, bend the knee and press it back. Arms out to the sides like airplane pose. So keeping the hips pretty, the sacrum pretty level, pressing back strongly. You could bring your hands down to the floor, lift your leg higher so you're in like a standing split, keeping the hips pretty much closed. You're not opening the hip yet. If you like, you could bring left hand to the ankle and maybe play with your balance with right hand as well. And then bring left hand to the outside of the little toe a few inches and come into this half moon pose. So open up, stacking the hips. You can look down or look straight ahead or up, maybe taking some of the weight out of the fingertips that are on the floor. You can also bend your right knee and reach for the foot if you have the ability to do that for dancer's half moon. Don't forget about your steady Ujjayi breathing. Releasing the foot if you've got it, and then bringing both hands back down, closing your hips again. Bend your left knee and bring that right foot down. Walk your feet apart like the width of your mat if you're using a mat, and come into a squat. maybe elbows pressing into the inner thighs. Find your breath, lengthening up through the crown of the head, breathing. Maybe coming into crow, or you can stay in your squat. So coming forward, making a ledge with your elbows for the knees, lifting the tail, breathing. Trying to keep the spine pretty neutral there. Then bring your feet back down, back into the squat. Find your breath. And then coming back up to a forward bend, so turn the toes back forward, bring your feet hip width. Come back into your forward bend with your long spine. And then either coming back up with a flat back, or you could round up if you want. Let your arms hang. And roll the shoulders back. Pause for a moment, find your standing mountain pose. And then bringing weight into the right foot, lifting the left knee up. And pause there, find your breath, find your gaze. You could try extending the leg, maybe a little sense of engagement in your right glutes there to support you, or the wall. Then bend the knee, press the leg back, come into airplane. Pause there, take a few breaths, warrior 3 with your arms out to the sides. And then coming forward, lifting your left leg, you'll be in a standing split position. Maybe your right hand comes to the ankle, you can play with balance. Lift your left hand and bring it towards the ankle. And then release your ankle if you have it. Bring your right hand just outside of the little toe for half moon pose. So opening up, stacking your hips, flexing your left foot. You can also take the bind for dancer's half moon. Breathing. Staying with it. And then extend the leg if you have the bind. Turn back towards the floor. Hips are closing. Bend your right knee, bring your left foot back to the floor. Feet are hip width. And walk your feet wide again. Let's come back into the squat. Maybe the upper arms into the inner thighs. Taking a couple breaths there. And then see if you can bring your seat down to the floor as gracefully as possible. Extend your legs out in front and come into a forward bend. So maybe like when we were standing, you might be able to reach the feet and kind of stretch the feet. Or you can just bring your hands to the floor, coming forward with a long spine and a steady breath. Then come back up to sit. And so come into this seated staff pose. See if you can lift your right leg, but stay upright, and then release it. You can bend the knee a little bit to avoid I get kind of my quads really want to grip. So bend the knee a little bit and that'll help with it. Use your center, lift the left leg. And bring it back down. And then we'll try it one more time on each side, so maybe with a little bend in the knee if you need to. My quads get real happy. So bending the knee helps a lot with that. Then release that side and then try the other side again. For some reason my right quads are more interested than my left. And release it. Try bringing right leg on top of the left. So cross your legs and come forward into the forward bend with the legs crossed. Might feel some different stretching on the outsides of the legs. I can feel a little more on the outer part of my right lower leg. And then come back up and switch, bringing left leg on top, crossing your legs, and just coming forward into a forward bend, which could be just a little bit forward. We're not trying to round the spine to get there, so breathing. And release and unwind your legs. Bending your right knee. Sit up tall. You could hold the knee to get some leverage to lengthen up. And take a couple breaths there. And then come into a twist. So maybe with the left arm wrapping around the right knee, right hand comes behind you. You can also bring the right hand underneath. That can help with your shoulder on the left side. And take a couple breaths there. And then turning back to face forward, let that knee open out to the side. And sitting up tall, first take a twist, so bring left hand to the right knee, twisting now with the knee towards the floor. So we just did this twist, but we had the knee lifted. If your hip or knee is bothered by opening, dropping the knee towards the floor, just put a prop, a pillow under it, or something to support it. And then turn back forwards, and then we'll take a forward bend towards the left foot. So feeling your right knee dropping towards the floor. Again, supporting it if you need to. Keep head and shoulders from rounding to come forward. So keep them lifting. Keep your tail lifting. So stay with this neutral spine. You can use a strap also. And just another breath here in this head to knee pose. And then coming back up, bring your right hand back right by your seat. Plant your hand and lift up. And come into this half circle pose, pressing the hips forward, maybe looking down at the floor, letting your heart open. And then circling back around. Come forward again into the forward bend, maybe not as deeply. And sitting back up, I'm going to come a little closer into the camera. And this time we will bend the left knee and extend the right leg. So sitting up tall, and just pause there, find your spine, find your breath. You could kind of engage in your right leg, draw the toes of your right foot back towards your shin. And then either with the elbow wrapped around the knee or maybe hand underneath, come into the twist. So you're just turning your spine. Perhaps looking back behind you, even with your eyes, to complete the twist. Letting the shoulder blades slide down the back of the rib cage. And then unwinding and letting your knee open out, your left knee drop towards the floor. And then we'll take the twist now with the knee on the floor. So there's a little openness there that you don't have when the knee is drawn in towards the chest. Breathe. Find your breath. Keep your awareness on your breath. Turning back towards your right leg and coming forward, using a strap if you need to. Coming into this head to knee pose. So staying with your long spine. folding forward at the hip. Nice steady breath in and out through your nose. Feeling the breath in the back of the rib cage. And then coming up, bring your right hand down, plant the hand by the hip. No, plant your left hand by your left hip. And come up into this half circle pose, sorry about that. Pressing hips forward. You could look down at the floor. Open the chest. You could even do that bent elbow and then straighten it like we did before. And then sweep yourself back to the forward bend. Maybe not as deep this time. Relax. I find myself pursing my lips like this. So I'm going to relax my mouth like it's not helping me. I don't know why I do it, but coming back up. And then let's come into a wide-legged position. So flexing your feet and staying with a neutral spine. So you might be just staying right here, excuse me, or you might be able to come forward, continuing to keep the tailbone lifting and the head and shoulders lifting. Sometimes it's nice to have something to lean on, like a bolster or pillow. Find your breath. Staying with it, staying with the breath, staying with discomfort, not pushing into injury or pain. So knowing the difference takes a lot of practice to learn where our safe edge is, but it's definitely related to our breathing. So we will naturally start to tense up, hold the breath when we're pushing past our safe edge. So when you feel that sort of like clenching feeling, back off a little, find your breath and move forward with the breath. Sometimes it's just a habit, and sometimes we're actually pushing too far, so knowing the difference. And bringing yourself back up, take a twist here. So just twisting towards the left, you're just turning your spine. Relax the shoulders. You don't have to turn very far. Just turn your spine as much as feels like you can breathe and is comfortable. And then turn in the opposite direction. Spiraling up, breathing. And turning back to center. And then maybe come forward again one time. Lengthening through both sides of your torso, kind of bringing yourself back into symmetry. And then back up. Let's bring your feet together into tortoise pose. So you're coming forward, and you might be rounding your spine consciously, feeling the back of your body broadening like the shell of a tortoise, letting the knees move towards the earth. The face comes towards the soles of the feet. You can get a little leverage sometimes with the inner upper arms pressing into the shins. That helps to kind of broaden further. Just finding your comfortable edge and then backing off, coming back up. Let's keep your your left knee bent and sweep the left knee forward, right leg back for a pigeon. Could be on your back too if that's too much for your knee So start in an upright position, finding the right spot for the knee, and then coming forward. And staying out of pinching or pain in the front of the hip. So use your arms to help regulate how much weight you're bringing forward. And taking some breaths there. Feeling the breath in the back of your body, so you can feel how the back of the rib cage moves with the breath. You can feel it in the sides of the rib cage. You can hear your breath, the gentle rhythm of the breath. So that's the friction as you gently close off the back of the throat. And so a couple ideas for a twist. You know the main ones. We often bring the right forearm to the floor and reach back for the sacrum with the left hand. You could also bring yourself down onto your shoulder and bring left hand back, maybe to the toes or to the sacrum, or even just leave it forward if that's comfortable. Otherwise, staying on the forearm and the usual, bringing the hand back to the sacrum and opening into the twist. If you're on your shoulder like this, you could come up and try tucking your left arm under and come onto the left shoulder. And if you have this pose with your hand back to your sacrum, you could try reaching for your foot. So when you get onto your left shoulder and you get your arm extended, you might really feel a big stretch in the back of the outer hip. If you're up here and you're reaching for the foot, you're going to feel it more in the shoulder and also in the psoas on the front of the right hip. So just different ways to go. And so wherever you are, release it. Press into your hands. Come back up through your hands and knees and do a little circling with your hips. In one direction and the other. Just kind of bringing yourself back to wagging your tail, what feels like symmetry. And then we'll draw the right knee forward. And we'll come towards pigeon. Mindfully, consciously. So coming to your forearms maybe, and taking your time, being mindful of your knee. And noticing your breathing. So it's easy to space out sometimes when you're moving towards the floor like this. So bring your awareness to your breath, staying quite alert and conscious in the pose. Noticing the sensations that come up as you meet yourself where you are. And then we're going to take the twist, so maybe with the left forearm to the floor, right hand back to the sacrum, or if you want to tuck the left arm under and come onto the shoulder, maybe the hand comes towards the toes. Lots of options. Mainly paying attention to your breath. And if you've got that, if you're on the floor and you've got your arm tucked under, switch and bring right shoulder to the floor, or maybe reaching back with your right hand for your left foot if you're upright. So taking the second part of that twist. And wherever you are, finding your breath, staying with it. releasing the foot, if you have it, coming up out of the pose and coming back to hands and knees. And just circling a little, just coming back to center. Let's come up onto the knees into a kneeling position for camel pose. And then we're going to bring it down with a ball for a little bit, so hopefully you'll have your balls handy. So coming onto your knees, you could put a block in between your thighs for this if you have one. Can you toss me that block? Oh, thank you. I'm pretty sure you guys don't need me to demonstrate, but I'm going to demonstrate anyway. Bring the block in there, squeeze the block, but like you're squirting it out behind you, so you're not dumping your lower back, you're staying upright. And then you can bring your hands back to your sacrum, lift your heart. If you want to come further, clasping hands or bringing them to the thighs or the heels, but keep that block squeezing and lift the heart. Find your steady breath so you can really feel that sense of your midline when you're squeezing the block. You can also just use a cushion or a rolled up towel or something. Go ahead and come out and come forward into prayer. Take a couple of breaths in prayer. And then back into child's pose. Bring your hips back towards your heels. And breathe into the low back. And then let's make our way onto the back. So we'll come onto our back and we'll come up into bridge pose. And you could continue to have the block or whatever you've used squeezing between your thighs. Just roll your hips up. If you'd like to clasp hands underneath, you could do that. And take a few breaths there, lifting evenly through both sides of your sacrum, your hips. If you have your arms, your hands clasped, let them go and slowly roll down, maybe still squeezing the block or whatever you've got there. And then let's take a ball and bring it underneath our upper back. So we'll come back into the bridge pose, but this time with the ball underneath you. Lifting your hips, supporting your head, and coming into bridge with the ball pressing into the upper back. Taking some breaths there, maybe rolling up and down the spine. And then you might bring your hips down. You could extend your legs and support your head. And let's do a few little crunches, just lifting up and contracting the front of your body, then letting yourself come back and feel the stretch. So up and down a few times, supporting the head with your hands. Maybe one more time like that. And then maybe a fish over the ball, back bend over the ball, supporting your head with a pillow if you need one, or taking any last moments with the ball, however you feel is good for your body. It might be nice to, if you're doing fish over a ball, to also bring the ball under the sacrum and do the same thing. So letting your hips open, straightening your legs, so doing this kind of passive opening of the front of the hips, the hip flexors, gently stretching. finding the right spot for the ball. And if you're there, you could walk your feet in, take the ball out, bring it back behind your skull, behind your head, and let your head turn from side to side a few times. So pressing into the muscles in the back of the skull, the neck, maybe rolling a little bit into extension and flexion. And eventually we'll just take the ball out and set it off to the side. We're going to come into our final resting pose. And you could start it with your feet together in a reclined bound angle pose, even supporting. Sometimes it's nice to do your whole Shavasana this way with cushions underneath the thighs so that it's a supported position. Sometimes it's nice to be on a bolster or a pillow. So finding your way to your own final resting pose on your back. I'm turning the lights down for Lori so she can have a nice relaxing corpse pose. You might want to turn the lights down in your house. Take advantage of the relaxing time. And just coming onto your back and releasing the weight of your body towards the earth. So imagining that the earth is welcoming you. The earth is cradling you and holding you against it with the force of gravity. And this allows you to relax. You're grounding yourself. This is one of the most basic things we can do when we're feeling stress or anxiety, is to ground ourselves. And you can do that in different ways, just feeling your feet against the earth, or maybe laying on your belly and breathing into your belly. Feeling the expansion of your belly against the earth. Laying on your back, feeling grounded. Sitting, feeling sit bones against the earth. So just really letting yourself now, here on your back, feel as much surface area of the back of your body as you can touching the floor, like you're expanding the back of your body against the floor. And feeling how your breath is coming to its own natural rhythm. And just noticing the rhythms inside of you right now. The rhythm of your breath. You might notice your heart rhythm, which might extend into a sense of the pulsing of your blood, your circulatory system. We're moving into a new time with the season right now. We're moving towards spring, and I could really feel that today. So nature has so many rhythms that we are in touch with on some deeper level, even if we're not aware of it. The rhythm of the seasons, the rhythms of the weather, the rhythms of the tides, of the phases of the moon. And we have all these natural rhythms in our own body, these cycles that we experience. So noticing right now that you are grounded against the earth, feeling the inner rhythms in your own body. Perhaps you can connect yourself to some of the rhythms of nature in your imagination. So feeling the earth right now is getting ready for things to grow, for things to burst forth All of the trees are budding and blossoming, and so you might feel some of that in your own body, like a sense of desire to move towards the light, to push forth, to push forward, to renew yourself. So taking a few more moments here on your back to just feel and sense your breath, your heart beating. Feel how relaxed you are, how your body is able to soften against the earth and ground. And then you might imagine, as you begin to prepare yourself to come back to your seat, to an upright position, you might imagine something that you want to bring with you from your practice tonight. So not every practice is your favorite practice. Sometimes our practice feels sluggish or feels disorganized or feels harder, and sometimes it feels amazing and we feel so in the flow, and all of that is part of having a regular practice. And so you might think about something that felt to you in your practice tonight, like it was beneficial to you, it served you, and you want to bring it with you into your evening as you come back to your seat. So bringing yourself upright and coming into the breath rhythm and the heart rhythm here in this position where you are in a vertical relationship with gravity, with your spine, lengthening up, taking a couple of balanced breaths. In and out through the nose. You might bring your palms together and take a moment to bow your head to your practice, to your own inner teacher, to nature, to your higher self or your higher power. Thank you so much for joining in and for practicing with me this evening. And I will see you again very soon. Namaste.